Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex Council meeting for Wednesday, March the 4th. It is with great respect that we acknowledge the land that we are gathered upon here today is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee and the Lenape peoples. It is through the connection with the spirit of the land, water, and the air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. We'll call the meeting to order, and any pecuniary interest, please forward them through if you have any to Ashley. Minutes of the previous meeting for February the 18th, a regular council meeting. Any errors, omissions, or business arising? Seeing none, I move to pass the minutes. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Our first item of business is delegate. Oh, yeah, we got the minutes. So delegations and Aqua. Well, whoever's coming up to speak, come on up. Oh, they're leaving you out there by yourself, are they, Rod? It's a bad report, is it? They're leaving you here alone?
All by my lonesome.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship, members of council and municipal staff for the opportunity to present to you tonight. We are going to be presenting our fourth quarter water and wastewater reports for 2025. So I'd like to start off with the water report I have here. That's the North Middlesex distribution system. First of all, we've started off with our locates. We performed 231 locates for the fourth quarter and 1,088 for the total of 2025. We then completed a total of 7 water main repairs for the year 2025, 0 for fourth quarter. Historically, we're around about 4 to 5 repairs a year. And we performed 6 water service repairs in the fourth quarter, 25 total for the year, but 55 when you add in the service box, valve box, and blow off repairs. Staff was able to maintain distribution pressure during the Lake Huron primary water treatment plant shutdowns. And the fourth quarter, we had 9 shutdowns total and 19 for the total of 2025. And it looks like we're on par to have a repeat in 2026. We had 4 shutdowns in the first quarter this year, March 25th being the last one for the first quarter. And we have one scheduled April 15th. Started the second quarter. That's the one where I believe we are going to be having some water tankers come in and supply our distribution system for the work that they are performing. Staff continue to collaborate with Aeramos Engineering and our local electrician to troubleshoot daily pump duty alteration at the West Williams Booster Station. In the fourth quarter, I've had these 2 pumps at the West Williams Booster Station alternate duties. By design, it's only supposed to do that once per week. So we have 1 pump that operates there 24 hours, 7 days a week. And then as part of its programming, it switches duties just to keep both pumps with reduced hours as possible. For whatever the reason, we don't know just yet, it was switching duties daily. It did that for the fall. It has stopped. I brought in some electricians to test some high pressure switches, thinking that that was a fail safe to stop these pumps from alternating. But we also brought in Aeramos to confirm the design of the programming as well. But right now we have power monitoring, and that's what we suspect that is going to be the cause. Our utility is putting too much power to that facility, causing these pumps to drop out momentarily and then come back on. And we have both power monitoring reports from our municipality that has a third-party contractor in, and we got Hydro One doing the same thing right now as we speak. Right now, the power monitoring is going to be ending on March 13th, and we're going to review that data and see what it comes back and says, and then hopefully find out what the reason to this cause. It's not that it's causing any issues to the pressure for that system, for the West Williams system, but like anything else, it's supposed to be operating the way that it is designed. And if it's not, we have to find out what the reason is, because you do not want to lose pump operation for that entire system. So we'll keep everybody updated as the information comes in and we continue to investigate the cause. Capital projects, Elsie Craig Queen Street water main project it's completed, it's done. Mount Carmel Reservoir, the engineering and design, we had a walkthrough with Dillon Engineering and contractors on February 11th. Tender closed last week, Friday, February 27th. And I'm extremely excited to have this project started for the Mount Carmel Reservoir. Any questions regarding the water system for fourth quarter 2025?
Questions for Rod? Seeing none at this time, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, the wastewater systems for Elsie Craig Wastewater Pollution Control Plant and Park Hill Lagoon systems. 1,484 cubic meters of biosolids was removed from the Elsie Craig plant and land applied in the month of October. This is historically always done in October. No issues or concerns there, and we're right on par with the number that we remove. 72,644 cubic meters of final effluent was discharged from the lagoon in the month of November. Again, historically, we always do it in April and we do it in November. There is something that we're going to learn, because again, we had the biosolids removed, which was great. And we also had some valve rehabilitation work on both cells, both the north and the south cell. So that's added more room for us when we do our discharge in spring and the fall. So the learning curve will be is that, for example, we didn't discharge the north cell in the fall of 2025. Right now, the south cell is full and it's starting to fill up the north cell right now in the month of March. So by the second week of April, both cells are historically been full and we needed to treat both cells. And that was a cost about $60,000 to $65,000. So maybe this spring, I just have to discharge the south cell and I can save us $30,000 to $35,000 on treatment. So that's what I mean by that learning curve. When we had some extra space by the biosolid removal project and that valves that were installed to lower the discharge level might be beneficial for us. And we'll continue to learn more about that during our discharge season, spring and fall.
Okay.
Victoria Street Sewage Pumping Station, which is here in the town of Park Hill. I've laid out a sequence of events because it was an interesting December for us in 2025. Pump 2 failed December 2nd. I received approval from our municipal partners to rebuild that pump. And the expected date of return was the last week of January 2026. So myself, I researched to obtain a pump on loan and I was able to get one for free. But we did reach out to our municipal contractors that we have relationships with. They had a pump that we could use, but it came with a price to use on a monthly cost. There was other friends at Aqua that I reached out to, and they had a pump, but again, that came with a price. And I was able to find one that we got for free. And the seriousness of that is that that Victoria Street sewage pumping station, of course, it was built, commissioned in 1978. It's an old station. When we had 2 pumps, we didn't have anything more. So when we had a pump fail, we were down to 1 pump. So it was very crucial that I find a pump to have something for redundancy. And I was very fortunate enough to find one. And we reinstalled that pump on December 23. So just before Christmas, we got that pump installed. 5 days later, we had an overflow event, heavy rain, snow melt. So I did my proper sampling and to all regulatory agencies that was completed, but that occurred on December 28th. So again, 5 days after I get that pump installed, heavy rain, that means both pumps are running continuously for easily 12, 18 hours straight nonstop. Still can't keep up with 2 pumps in operation, overflows to the Camry Gillies drain, but we were able to keep our systems operating and we did not back up into the collection system. The next day, December 29th, I lose a soft starter on pump 2. I bring in the electrician, they do a temporary bypass or a temporary soft starter to get that pump back up and running. And we've been very fortunate that pump has been running since December 29th of no issues so far. And the pump was rebuilt. We got it the last week of January, and the soft starter came in on the last week of February. So I have both scheduled to be replaced next week on Victoria Street Sewage Pumping Station, pump 2. Redundancy is key. So I'm going to be working strategically with the municipal staff to have a second pump. It's on order. And the biggest thing that we can learn from this is that a rebuild pump takes 3 months to get done. And if you buy a pump, it takes anywhere from 4 to 5 months to come in. So we have a new pump ordered and we got a rebuilt pump. So we'll be back with our redundancy and keeping our service to our residents as promised. Capital projects, LC Craig, wastewater treatment plant, energy optimization. Again, we have our variable frequency drives installed on our HVAC system. We have our heat pumps installed. We have power monitoring on those processes. We're collecting data, and we're just keeping the momentum going, and we'll have a report based on that data and hopefully have an incentive check, a return investment check that we can present to you with that investment that was made at that plant. I have seen a difference. I've been there. I work out of there. There is a difference. I just don't know how much. There is savings. I just wish I could tell you how much, but there is some that will be coming. William Street Sewage Pumping Station and LC Craig plant design, Dillon's Engineering, nothing out of the ordinary there. Same thing with our LC Craig infiltration and inflow study. And the Park Hill biosolid removal with RV Anderson, not just a biosolid removal project, but we're kind of working with a future upgrade or a modification of the design, potentially with a SAGAR system or an MBAR type system as well. So we're continuing to work there. Any questions regarding the LC Craig or Park Hill Lagoon system?
Questions about the lagoon? Councillor Irwin, then Councillor Canelson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to our representative, and this relates to either report. Aside from new construction, what do you think is going to be our single biggest challenge for 2026?
Single biggest challenge for the wastewater systems
Or water, wastewater
or water?
Yes.
The single biggest challenge, I think, is we looking at strategically, and I'll use this example for the pumps. We have to be more strategic, and we have to think more about what we can do to be cost effective. So when I say that to you, this pump that I was talking about, 20 horsepower pump. So it made me look at our systems, and I looked at Bear Creek Sewage Pumping Station, and it's a 15 horsepower pump. Yes, it has a 6-inch volute. Yes, it has a 6-inch or 2-inch guide rail system. And I looked at dynamic head. That pump can be used at Victoria Street Sewage Pumping Station. So what we're going to need to do is look at our facilities, look at the age, condition assessments, look at what we need to do strategically to put ourselves in a position that we can continue to deliver a service. And then what ultimately that means is financial redundancy. What do we have that we can put back into our reserves, what we can save, and what we can invest in O&M? That's going to be the challenge, I think, for us in a small municipality, both water and wastewater related.
Councillor Canelson.
Thank you, Mayor Rod. Rod, I'm a little confused here in terms of the Park Hill Lagoon and the capacity of the lagoon, because my understanding is that I read somewhere in this report that it's currently functioning at 53% capacity. And so a few years ago, I know that we were looking at, it had virtually no capacity. And so because of that, we initiated a process to design a mechanical plant at considerable cost. That seems to have gone by the wayside. What has changed other than removing some sludge from the lagoons that has increased the capacity? Because as I recall, during our meeting, I specifically said that, and I know I was laughed at a little bit, but I said, if it was a farmer, they just dig the thing deeper. And that's essentially what we did by removing the sludge. So are we still online to need a mechanical plant here, or can we continue with our development as it is?
You can continue to with your development that has been allotted. I think it was I don't know remember the exact number off the top of my head, but let's say it was 300 homes. Yes, you still need a mechanical plant. We know when you look at all the future development, when you look at that number, especially with our reports, It can be confusing, and I even get confused by it sometimes. When you look at it, say 53% or 63%, we look at the raw flow coming in and we average that over 365 days a year. It doesn't account for those wet weather events when I take in 3,000 cubic meters in a day.
Mhm.
That's probably the biggest difference that you got to remember when you're looking at these assessments. And we had a number of assessments, whether by a number of engineers, they all have different numbers, but they all say the same thing.
Mm.
You are at capacity and you need to invest in a new facility. It's without knowing that number, but that's what I'm going to say is right now is that raw flow divided by 365 days a year, 53%, 63%. That's what that means, but it doesn't account development and it doesn't account for your wet weather events.
So the design that has been completed, would it still be able to function into going into the future?
Correct. It will function going into the future with that number in mind of say 370 homes, 350 homes. But once you have that completed or filled up, you will be at capacity and we'll be looking at possibly having to do emergency discharges.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Rod.
Okay. Any other questions? from the floor? Sam, go ahead.
I would just add to what Rod mentioned, excuse me, the number that came forward as part of the dislodging was just over 370 homes. So that was the number that came forward. We will need some sort of treatment beyond the lagoons, as council's aware. We have hired RVA to do that. That was approved to be finalized as part of the 2026 budget. So we're hopeful that within the next 2 to 3 months, we will have something back to council with the what's next, if you will, with that assignment closing out. To the treatment plant, and obviously why we started this in the first place. The project that was done in the past was a very, very expensive project that is obviously pretty hard to fund. So what we're looking at now is what can we do that we'll need to do at some point sooner than later that won't cost $40 million. So that is hopefully going to be back in front of council in the next 2 to 3 months. But like Rod mentioned, we will still need something at some point, but we obviously do have extra capacity around that 370 number.
Okay. Any other questions at the table? I just have one I'd like to ask, and that is on treating the lagoons. I remember last year you reported, I think, almost $140,000 in costs for chemicals. And you thought that when we did the lagoons, that it was going to save us some money. You're now saying, yes, it is going to save us some money?
Yeah, through your worship, all indication points to that direction that we're going to be able to save some costs and not have to treat an additional cell that we would have to in the past. So we used to budget or have budgeted $150,000 a year to
Right.
treat. That's both the spring and the fall. So again, it's looking like I don't have to treat that nor sell this spring. So that's going to be a savings of 30 to 35,000 right on the spring.
Okay.
So if I discharge the south cell and then I start filling up the north for the entire summer, let's say in the fall, I discharge probably just the north cell. I don't have to discharge the south. And then I start filling up the south again, and then I'll be our 2027. So there potentially could be anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 saving from that $150 line item.
Yeah.
But I won't know that until I start getting some full cycles in and actually starting experiencing and seeing what happens.
Okay. So, but my follow-up question to that is, we did before we actually dredged lagoons, we actually did some spot work where we had them come in and they did take away from the gates. Is there any advantage to continue to do maintenance like that, over the next few years to help the lagoons to last? Is there an advantage to doing that? We did have Wessex, I think, came in and did it, and they actually did around the discharge gates. They took some of the sludge away. There was no maintenance done for 50 years on those lagoons. Would we be wise to carry on and maybe not this year, but starting to take some of that away again? Just a question here.
Yeah, through your worship, there was, I do remember that the company coming into performing that type of work. And I hope it wasn't a cost to the municipality. I have mixed feelings with it. Because again, it was more basically a hose that was entered from up top So you're going through the water, you're sticking the hose down in the bottom, and then you're supposed to remove the biosolids. So the question comes is how much really biosolids are you removing from the bottom when from an application? So I'm open to any strategic or new initiative ideas that help reduce biosolids, whether it's that type of or maybe similar work, or whether it's a chemical treatment or anything that comes up to help us reduce that amount where we're spending to remove like the 2 million that we spent to. have
Okay,
it
there
cleaned.
is definitely a cost to it. I forget whether it was around $60,000 we spent to do those works. If I remember right, that's the numbers or close to that. But if we're saving in chemicals, it's just a question.
Yeah.
Hard to know maybe right now too.
No, again, when it comes to biosolid removal, we did this work, right?
Yeah.
I know there's other opportunities out there, even with a chemical treatment. They say that will eat that sludge or dissolve that sludge so that it increases capacity. But I mean, yeah, we're open to new ideas, new
Okay.
technology, new innovation.
That'll
to
just
do
be
that.
part
So-
of what we're doing going forward. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I would just add, Your Worship, that RVA recommended, and it's certainly something that we'll have to do going forward, that every 3 to 5 years, you should be looking at the engineering portion of desludging again. And then desludging, you should be doing it every 5 to 7. So certainly from a proactive maintenance perspective, we're going to be every couple of years looking at that part of it.
So you're saying 50 years was too long.
Just a little bit, yes.
Okay. No, I just want to, but there wasn't much done on maintenance in the past. We didn't talk about it much. But now that we're more aware, that's just a question going forward. That's it for me. Any other questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And to Rod, I don't know, I'm reading through this the second time here. I remember seeing this the first time. Can you explain to me the difference? And I was reading page 19 to 25 on the wastewater. There's a red line called rated capacity and then a yellow line that's estimated true capacity. What's the difference in the two of them?
Oh, okay. And that's Park Hill Lagoon,
Yeah,
1925.
Yeah, page 19 to 25, and it kind of raises, goes up from 24, goes up, but what's the definition of both of those?
So rated is what we have as part of the ECA, so Environmental Compliance Approval Certificate. So rated is what this facility here, and if I'm looking at 19 Park Hill Lagoon, well, it's got 1150, so you're just under that 1200 mark. That's the rated capacity of the information that we have. And there is some debate on the rate on that ECA. We don't physically have that ECA with us on site, but it's the most up-to-date information that we can find. So that's the rated one that we have. Back to that 600, that's what we're talking about, is the raw wastewater coming in for the entire year being divided by 365 days a year. That's where that misconception, into Councillor Cornelison, that's where it's great to have this information, but it's not as detailed when you have those high rain events that come through.
Okay, if any other questions? No, seeing none?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. No, I think we're going right into a report, I believe, that Sam has, and that is for the fourth quarter client services with Aqua.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And to you and all the members of council, I won't reiterate everything Rod said. It just to more formalize the recommendations with the report that I have in front of council this evening and the information that Aqua has provided. So the recommendations before council on this report are that council receive report DIO 18 of 2026 regarding the Q4 2025 North Middlesex Water and Wastewater Report for information, and that council receive the appended overview memorandums to council and client operations reports prepared by the Ontario Clean Water Agency. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. Is there any questions for Sam on that? If not, we have a recommendation in front of us, moved by Councillor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Ron. Our next report is from Arnie, and it is a 2025 year-end building report. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm pleased to come here today to present to you the fourth quarter building report for 2025 and also the year-end report for 2025. Following the report, I'd also like to speak to Council briefly about comments from the Economic Development Advisory Committee, if you'll allow me to. First, I'll speak to the report though. So as council knows, Middlesex Center provides building inspection services to 4 municipalities, and we've included a 5th now. So we're in North Middlesex, Middlesex Center, Adelaide Metcalfe, Southwest Middlesex, Lucan Biddulph, and we've invited the village of Newbury. They've asked, so we've welcomed them to our group. So we're now providing building inspection services to 6 municipalities in the county. And I'm pleased to tell you that North Middlesex is really shining. They're sort of leading the way with what we've seen last year. So what we've seen last year, so 2024 was a fantastic year for North Middlesex. And 2025 has exceeded those numbers. And our primary measurement is the number of new dwellings. That's a big question for most municipalities, is how many new dwellings do we have each year? So in 2025, the totals went up to 68 new dwellings as compared to 57 in 2024, which was a great increase as well. Primarily, most of these homes are in Ailsa Craig. For a second year in a row, Ailsa Craig's kind of led the way across our service area, really. There's a number of tables on our report. The first table, table 1, speaks to the 5 municipalities in our agreement. Speaks to the number of permits that we have in each municipality, the number of new dwellings, and the construction value that we've seen in 2025. Generally, we're consistent with the 2024 numbers, almost right on. Some municipalities were lower though in last year, and I'm happy to say North Middlesex did really well, as you'll see as we move forward here. Into our second table. Table 2 outlines the types of permits. It's a better breakdown, both of the fourth quarter to see what activity we had in the fourth quarter and the year-end numbers, and as those year-end numbers compare to that of the previous year. So for example, last year we had 44 new dwellings compared to 39 new dwellings in 2024, 22 townhouses compared to 16. Those are generally the biggest indicators that that council likes to have regard for. But we also do have breakdowns for farm buildings, septic systems, signs, swimming pools. They're all included in this table. Number of permits was the same, 172 permits last year, 172 permits the previous year. Table 3 is a summary of number of permits, fees collected, and construction value that we've seen over the past 5 years. Again, the number of permits generally is the same. It's pretty consistent actually, and permit fees as well for the last 2 years. It's been a very successful couple of years for North Middlesex. Table 4 is a summary breakdown just of new dwellings that we've seen over the last 5 years. Again, 68 is the top number we've seen since Middlesex Center's been your building division, and I think a number of years before that, it's been a while since we've seen 68 new dwellings in North Middlesex. And table 5 provides a breakdown of where we're seeing the development over the past 5 years. Again, Ailsa Craig, 53 new dwellings in Ailsa Craig compared to 44 the previous year. And that's up from 6 the previous year. So Ailsa Craig's really boomed. Park Hill, when we started here in 2021, Park Hill was the place. There was a bit of a slowdown in Park Hill for a number of reasons, but in speaking with the development community, I think we're going to have another really good year, including within Park Hill. Things are really pointing in that right direction. If there's any questions regarding the building report, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I can just continue.
Questions for Arnie? Councilor Canellison?
Thank you. Good to see you, Arnie. Thank you for coming. I do have a question on agricultural buildings and specifically the minimum distance separation from a livestock barn to a residence home. Now, is there a distinction, a difference if the home and the farm are attached, that belongs to the same owner, or not for the minimum distance separation? Can you help me understand?
I sure can. Yeah, through the mayor. MDS, minimum distance separation, applies to neighboring residential uses. So it's not the farmer's house.
Okay.
It's a nuisance document primarily for odors. So the farmer live on the farm with the barns. So MDS wouldn't apply to the farmhouse. It
Great.
applies to neighboring dwellings.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and to Ernie. In progressing with a building permit and going on, I don't, going through you guys, does nutrient management units play into this at all? In anything, or is that a Ministry of the Environment thing?
Yeah, through the mayor, before we can issue a building permit for a livestock building, the farmer will have to provide us with an approved nutrient management strategy. We don't look at nutrient units, sorry, that's all part of the nutrient management strategy. So no, it doesn't come into our play, but we need to see that they've had approval from the Ministry of Agriculture.
It's Ministry of Agriculture. Okay, I thought I might have a lead up or a follow-up question.
Okay. Councilor Ellison.
Actually, got a follow-up question, thanks to the deputy mayor, and it pertains to nutrient management. Because in a rural area, as you know, sometimes we're pretty close to a field where livestock operations and the nutrients are put on the field fairly regularly, in close proximity to a neighbor's house possibly. But that neighbor has to have a specific septic system that controls their own waste. How do you distinguish the difference between animal waste and human waste when it's all waste?
Yeah, through the mayor, there's lots of answers to that question.
Oh.
So they're regulated separately. Human waste goes into a septic system. It's regulated under the Ontario Building Code. Manure is regulated under the Nutrient Management Act. As I said, a farmer needs a nutrient management strategy for the farmstead. A part of that strategy, they also have a nutrient management plan for where they're going to spread their manure. We don't view the nutrient management plan. The plan has nothing to do with the municipality. That's approved by the ministry. And they regulate distances to water courses, neighboring properties. Nutrient management plans might look at grassed waterways to protect the environment of where they can spread and times a year and volumes that are able to be spread. We've had questions before from farmers that want to have a washroom in their barn, and can the toilets in the barn go to the manure tank? And we've asked for clarification from the Ministry of Environment on that. And because of the different types of waste between human waste and animal waste, that barn would have to put in a septic system for that washroom. They can't flush that washroom into the manure tank. It's a different type of waste with different bacterias and concerns.
That leads me to a next question then, because there's a lot of human waste being trucked up from Detroit and otherwise from other systems, and it's dried but randomly spread on farmers' fields. How does that apply? Is that part of the nutrient management, or is that part of human waste again? Because it is human waste.
Yeah, through the mayor, then you're reaching beyond the capabilities of building division. They would need a yeah, that's yeah. Still, the Ministry of Environment will likely issue an ECA approval for that field for biosolids, but yeah,
Okay.
I can inquire if you like.
Thank you, Arnie.
Okay.
This is coming from a council who has a 1 acre property and a farm land. Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, I would just add, your worship, that the councillor brought up there it still lives with the ministry, but it falls under what they call a NASM plan, which again, it's by definition, it's called the non-agricultural source materials. So that's what they call it. We had to do the process for the lagoons, but that's all through the same ministry.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions for Councillor Keogh?
More so, Mayor Rob, just a statement that Arnie, North Middlesex is a place to be by the look of the building going on, eh?
I like that statement. I like that.
Middlesex County. That's right.
Yeah, very politically correct. If there's no other questions, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Arnie, with you.
So through the mayor to council, just following some comments that came up from the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I wanted to provide council with a bit of a response from staff, maybe to educate council, educate the public of what we do, who we are, and the benefits of our service agreement with North Middlesex. So I was able to meet with Councillor Irwin last week to speak about some of the concerns of the EDAC And I welcome myself out to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, April's meeting. So hopefully we can have a good constructive meeting there and we can listen to some of the concerns. But essentially, economic development is everybody's business. It's everybody's responsibility. So we all have roles to play. Your economic development team, building division, planning, engineering, council, CAO. We all have a part to play. And it's important that we get that across, that we work as a team. And we do work as a team. We pre-consult with the proponents. Quite often, I'll get a phone call first saying, I want to move a business here, or I want to get a liquor license with the Crown and Turtle. We'll talk to the Crown and Turtle how to stick handle the liquor license processes, and we help them with that as well. But it's a team effort. Quite often with economic development, industrial, institutional, commercial developments, they go through site plan approval. Site plan approval is through the Planning Act. Quite often it's coordinated through planning. We'll meet as a group with planning, engineering, economic development, potentially county, the conservation authorities, and the proponent, and we'll look at their drawings, and that goes out for circulated for comments, and hopefully not too much bureaucracy, but sometimes that bureaucracy is required. Everything's good. You want to push things as quickly as you can, and things can go really good until they don't. And whether there's a grading issue with the property next door or a parking concern because of this new business, unfortunately, going through site plan approval and bringing new businesses in does take some time to coordinate all the comments of all the different agencies and commenting groups. But I think the clerk Ashley mentioned that we are looking at putting together a flow chart to make it easier for the potential businesses that want to come to the municipality. And we're happy to work. There's always ways that we can improve what we do. But building division, we're always here to assist. Building permit fees. Something came up at our last meeting talking about the fees not building permit fees, sorry, fees Middlesex Center is charging to North Middlesex. So in 2025, North Middlesex paid Middlesex Center about $140,000 for our services. Last meeting, I think it was brought up, it was 260 some odd noted in the budget. It's actually 140,000. This year, we expect it to be about $165,000 is what it would cost North Middlesex for Middlesex Center to provide these services. In my report, you'll see we brought in $300,000 in building permit fees. So there's enough fees coming in right now that are paying for Middlesex Center to provide those services. Since 2021, some successes, some things we've done. We've been able to update North Middlesex's website. It's fairly user-friendly, a lot of information in there, whether you want to build a house or a shed, or a commercial building, what you need for a building permit. We have two people on there as contacts, myself and our Deputy Chief Building Official, Wayne Isabart. We've successfully brought electronic building permitting into North Middlesex. Cloud permit, it's kind of spread across North America now, and happy to say that we are the pioneers of it, and North Middlesex is also one of those early stage users. By having Middlesex Center and our service agreement together, North Middlesex, Adelaide, Metcalfe, Southwest Middlesex, we have consistent building bylaws, consistent building permit fees, consistent code interpretation. So you're having one building department. The benefit there is that you have consistent code interpretation and you have the same building inspector, because some builders will build in Lucan, they'll also build in Ailsa Craig. So consistency for them is nice. We do have somebody in the office here every Tuesday morning. If there's need for that, we can expand that to other mornings throughout the week. We don't find that it's used that much. We could advertise it more, but our team is available to meet, on the phone, in person, in drive sheds. I personally have met with residents. We sat around a dining room table, concerned about a barn that was being built around the corner from them on Argyle Street and McGubbin. I sat around with some neighbors, educated them on the building permit process and what their appeal rates are. So we're happy to meet with your residents, whether it's on a Tuesday morning or at their drive shed to go over a building permit. We have no concerns doing that. Last year, we previewed Gold Leaf's condo permits. So in Ailsa Craig, So once engineering and planning was satisfied, building permits were available, we were able to click the button and their permits were issued within a few days. So we were able to preview those permits. We're doing the same right now with 91 West Park Drive. We're previewing all those permits, so when that site serviced, they don't have to wait to apply. Their permits will be ready to go. And we're also assisting with bylaw enforcement as we're out there. Our bylaw enforcement officers in Middlesex Center, they're also appointed in Lucan Biddulph and appointed in North. If you need assistance with bylaw enforcement, we're happy to provide that as well. Some benefits of our team. We have 5 inspectors and a co-op student and a bylaw officer, varying expertises. If you have your own building division with 1 inspector or 2 inspectors, you'll have issues with coverage for extended sick leaves, vacation time. With our 5 primary inspectors, we're out and about different parts of the municipality. Again, different expertises, so there's a lot of benefit to that. And again, the consistency with the neighboring municipalities. And what we saw last year is how busy North Middlesex was and how slow other parts of the municipality were, that we don't have people sitting around, that we can move with the highs and the lows of where it's busy in the county. And, you know, Glencoe's looking potentially at a good year this year, and as is Elsa Craig and Park Hill. So and we actually have a vacancy, so we may have to fill that vacancy later this year if things do pick up like we're hoping. But if you do hear concerns from your residents, please don't save it for a council meeting. Reach out to Carolyn or myself, and we're happy to address it. But if there's any questions or clarification, I'm happy to provide that.
Thanks, Arnie. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Keel?
Just another comment.
Okay,
North Middlesex is a place to be.
you're kind of a one-trick record tonight, aren't you? Okay, I think honestly, if I may, you made comment to that at that meeting as well, that what you thought of the process that we have. And it was positive comments that you made. And I think there's a lot of positive comments that should be made as well. But was any questions, comments? Seeing none, go ahead, Carolyn.
I just want to make the comment and to thank Arnie and his team. I think they do a fantastic job for us. Arnie and I speak on a regular basis as needed, and he's always a part of our regular meetings, development meetings that we have with our staff as well as county and conservation and whoever else needs to be part of them. And I think it's a great process that we do. We can always improve things, of course, but I think we have a great group of people that help people through the process, and Arnie's team is very much part of them. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree very much so that I think we certainly couldn't handle in-house what we've been the last few years and hope to continue to do. So thank you to you and your team, and that's the planning team, that's everyone. But I agree that if there's some information that we can give to people to help them go through the process, I think the biggest thing when I look at it, when you're dealing with developers, they're more used to this type of thing. It's the one-offs. Someone like me comes in, I want to build a garage. Why do I have to do all this to build a garage? You know, I've built garages before. How come I got to do all this? I think that's the challenge, and we have to do our best to stick handle through that. So
Absolutely.
if there's no other questions or comments, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And
I'll move the recommendation.
I was going to say, and I'm looking for a mover of the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Irwin, second by Councillor Daigle. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Arnie. Our next item is from the Drainage Superintendent, the Rawlings Drainage Works Tender Award.
Yep.
Joanne.
Mayor and members of council, in front of you is report DIO 21 of 2026 for the tendering results and contract award for the construction project of the Rawlings Drainage Works. After a public procurement process, 3 contractors submitted bids to tender contract IO 03 of 2026. The lowest compliant bid was received by Robinson Farm Drainage Limited. Therefore, the proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives the report DIO 2021 of 2026. DIO 21 of 2026 regarding the municipal drain tender award for the Rawlings Drainage Works 2025 for information, and that council directs staff to award the tender contract IO 03 2026 for the Rawlings Drainage Works 2025 to Robinson Farm Drainage Limited in the amount of $349,237.80, including HST.
Thank you, Joanne. Any questions for Joanne on this? Counselor Canellison.
Thank you. I wish Josh was here, but unfortunately he's not, so I guess you're going to have to put up with me. Sorry. But a question I have for you is, what is the difference between the crossing on Richmond and Mooresville? Like, I know there's one culvert going in Mooresville, I believe.
Yes.
And is there a drill or a bio drilling under Richmond Street? What are we doing there?
Yep. Through the mayor and Councillor Cornelis. The one on Richmond Street is a bore, and the Mooresville crossing is an open cut. So they have to remove the existing cement bridge that's there now. So there's cost to that. And then they're going to install the culvert.
Will it be a metal culvert or a concrete
It's a
culvert?
CSP, yes.
I'm sorry?
It's a CSP.
What's that mean?
It's a, yes. thank you.
Corrugated.
Corrugated, yes.
Okay. I'm not an engineer, sorry. Okay, it's just, I'm kind of curious because the MTO, their cost is something like 59,000 when North Middlesex is 115,000. I just find that, I wish Josh was here because that also includes our water main, which again, Enbridge gas line, to go underneath the gas line, which is much more volatile, is $40,000, but to go underneath a water main is $47,000, which seems like we're getting hit pretty hard. So I wish I could ask Josh, but he's not here. So I don't mean to put it on you, but thank you anyway.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? We have a recommendation in front of you, moved by Counselor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Joanne, the next one is the Robinson Drain Tender Award for the Robinson Drain. Go ahead.
Mayor and members of council, in front of you is report DIO 22/2026 for the tendering results and contract award for the construction project for the Robinson Drain. After a public procurement process, 3 contractors submitted bids to tender contract IO 04 of 2026. The lowest compliant bid was received by Robinson Farm Drainage Limited. Therefore, the proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 22 of 2026 regarding the municipal drain tender award for the Robinson Drain 2025 for information, and that council directs staff to award the tender contract IO 04 of 2026 for the Robinson Drain 2025 to Robinson Farm Drainage Limited in the amount of $261,735.12, including HST.
Thank you, Joanne. Any questions for Joanne on this one? Oh, seeing none, we need a mover for the recommendation. Counselor Nerda, Counselor Keough, all in favor? That is carried as well. Thank you. Thanks, Joanne. Our next one is for Sam, and that's William Street Pumping Station Upgrades Contract Awards.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and to you and all the members of council. Before you this evening is report DIO 15 of 2026, which requests 2 council contract awards, one being the construction tender award and one being the contract administration and construction observation award. If council will recall, at the last meeting, we had the transfer payment agreement through the province of Ontario, which solidified the funding opportunity that we are working on the province of Ontario with. And then secondary to that, we've been finishing the design. We had tendered the project in the background. The tender had closed, and then you'll find the details of the tender in my report here. So to go through that in a bit more detail, as I noted, the detailed design was completed by Dillon Consulting, and then we did tender the project competitively. We ended up receiving 4 compliant submissions, and between staff's review and Dillon's review, the lowest compliant bid that we received was submitted by Bedouin, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, Canada, which was in the amount of $7,565,000, excluding HST. Again, both staff and Dillon reviewed the submission, and there was found to be no errors with it. We also did quite a bit of research on the company because, again, I've never worked with them, and neither has the local folks at Dillon. They are a company out of Quebec, but they are very, very big in Canada, and all of their reference projects and materials and things that they've done is very, very accurate to the work that we're doing here. So certainly not someone that we've ever worked with before, but everything they have on paper and record shows that it's a project that they're very capable of doing. Again, you'll note in my report that staff are recommending that we carry forward with Dillon Consulting Limited to undertake the contract administration and construction observation services. You'll note in my finance section that I mentioned this in my transfer payment agreement report as well. This project is a multi-year project and it's a bit complex in the way the schedule's laid out and the way that we're going to be spending money. So I broke it out as best as we are estimating at this point based on how we see the project moving forward. But in essence, and through the 26 budget, we estimate that we're going to have to spend roughly 1.5 million this year. And that is for ordering materials and then very, very minor contract administration from Dylan because we don't really expect to do too much this year other than likely just shop drying work. So we can order those materials and then we'll carry those future budget asks and what we think it will cost us in those respective years through those respective budget processes. But again, I laid that out as best we think in how our funding application set it up in the table in the financial summary there. And again, we expect to start the project in 26 pending council award, obviously, and then hopefully wrap it up in Q1 of 2028. So the recommendations before council this evening for this report are that council receive report DIO 15 of 2026 regarding the William Street Pumping Station upgrades contract awards for information, and that the tender received from Bedouin Canada for the tendered price of $7,565,000 excluding HST be accepted, and that Dillon Consulting Limited be authorized to carry out contract administration and construction observation services for the project at an upset limit of $206,000 excluding HST, and that the mayor, clerk, and staff be authorized to sign the associated contract documents. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right, questions? Counselor Daigle?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Sam, how does this align with budget?
Through your worship to the counselor. So you'll note in my report there, the original cost estimate, albeit changed a number of times based on the project going year over year with not doing it. The original, or I guess final cost estimate that we received from Dylan on the project was 7.5 million. So excluding HST, we're just 65,000 over that. And then obviously with the contract administration added on top of that at an extra 206,000, we're roughly about just shy of 300,000 above what the pre-tender estimate was. So again, pre-tender was about 7.5 and we're sitting at about 7.8.
Thank you.
Counselor Keel?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. This question is probably more so for Ralph. $7,565,000 plus HST, so $983,000. Is that something that we will capture in the following year? Or is that something that can be, I guess, captured? I guess it's almost $1 million. And what I'm getting at is that something that can be transferred on paper, but not in cash because it's an in and out? Or how does that work?
Just the HST.
Just the HST, yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the counselor. If I understand your question, what will basically happen is in this budget for this year, there's $1.5 million, which is being spent mostly on pre-purchasing product that we're going to store until we actually get into doing the work. What will most likely happen is as we get into developing the 2027 budget, we will have a better idea of what exactly is the total cost of the project, which is going to exceed the 7.5 million that we were originally working with. So there'll be an adjustment to this project's budget in the 27 budget to absorb what that excess cost is. But you're basically pre-approving it tonight by accepting the tender.
Okay. Yep. Other questions? Counselor Nelson?
Mayor Rob. Sam, given that there's any of like Dylan's and ourselves and yourself have not worked previously with Boudin contracting here, what if any safeguards are built into our agreement with them to hold them accountable to that tender amount, given that we've had some bad experiences in the past?
Through your worship to the counselor, I would just, well, I'll add a couple points actually. So we tendered this one like we're tendering everything primarily now through the County of Middlesex. So all of the tender documents that we have are following the bigger county standard that we have. Their standards are far more beefy than ours are. All of our tender documents are following that. All of our agreements are following that. So I'll just suggest that a lot of the contract documents that we have are far more comprehensive than they have been in the past because we're now following the County of Middlesex procurement policy. I'll just add that within there, we obviously have all the normal stuff that we do. We are carrying 100% bonding on performance, materials, labor. We have built-in securities. We had a sizable contingency on this project for if anything comes up that was unforeseen. We will obviously withhold holdbacks and securities. And then obviously you'll note that Dylan's fees are obviously sizable. The intent here is that between Dylan's staff and or our own staff, we'll be there almost every day. So the expectation is that we will see things and there should not be things that come up that we are not aware of or that we won't be able to keep control of. So certainly our plan is to be proactive on the contract, which is how I obviously like to do these. And hopefully we just won't get to that point.
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic that you've done a good job. Hopefully it'll work out.
Any other questions? Sam, go ahead.
I'll just add, Your Worship, and this is more for information than anything. This is subject to the Lucan Council approving it, but Bedwin was also the folks that were to be awarded the wastewater work in Lucan. So they'll be doing work for both us and Lucan, but all kind of around the same time, but it's just information.
You have a question, Councillor Irwin?
No, Your Worship, my question was on contingency, but I think that was answered.
Okay. Councillor Keel.
Just one more, Mayor, up, and this may have already been answered. The definition of an upset limit for 206,000. Can I get clarity on that?
So through Your Worship, the councillor, upset limit is what we ask them to do and what they scope for us. That's what they will get paid. If they expect to get paid more than that, they won't. And they'll have to ask for extra money if they think they're doing work outside of what their scope was. But we negotiated with them. So our expectation is that they will get paid no more than 206,000 to do contract administration and construction services.
If there's no other questions, we have that recommendation in front of us. What's your wish? Moved by Councillor Cornelison, second by Councillor Irwin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one is the water meter replacement program.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And I might ask that a member of the Aqua team, Rod or somebody else, come up just in case there's questions that might be of value. But while they come up, I will get started. To the mayor and members of council, before you this evening is report DIO 16 of 2026, which presents a change of scope award with Ontario Clean Water Agency for our 2026 water meter replacement program. And for those who haven't, I think most of you probably have at this point, but if you haven't, this is Sam Smith. He is what was Renee before it with Aqua. So this report tonight seeks council's approval to continue the water meter program that the municipality has been doing over the past couple of years into 2026 and beyond. But we're proposing it in a bit of a different way than we have in the past, and that is to extend the existing operations and maintenance agreement that we have with the Ontario Clean Water Agency through a change of scope to add these services under the work that we already do with Aqua. This would obviously help the municipality in a number of ways, but it helps support our asset management strategy by replacing the aging water meters that we have. The ones that we have that need to be replaced to fix billing issues, billing accuracy, maintaining reliable water service delivery, all that kind of stuff. Key highlights you'll note in my report are, again, this was initially started as a phase in 2024. In 2024, there was about 200 meters replaced. In 25, we replaced just over 230. And then the target in 2026, we're planning to try and do about 250. So we're targeting that 250 number again. And we think that obviously working with Aqua, there's a lot of continuity there with all the work they do. We think that number is very tenable and we're going to target 250 meters this year. Again, you'll note in my report that, and I think some of you might maybe even ask this question, this was not a service that was obviously offered by Aqua previously, but between myself and other staff here, we've been working with the Aqua team over the past year to hopefully bring this to fruition, and they've been gracious enough to work with us, and it's come to light here. So it is now a program that they are willing to offer, which will provide a lot of continuity for us because they obviously do all of our operations and maintenance for our water wastewater program. But currently that obviously stops at the property line. But now that this will also help with any of the private plumbing issues that we had before, where we either had to hire a third-party plumber or we obviously had to hire a contractor like Neptune in 25 or Evans Supply in 24. We won't have to do anything like that, and it'll just be a one-stop shop. You'll note again in my financial summary that the budget that we have for this is 400,000. I mentioned this during budget, but if anyone didn't catch when I said it, what we did with the fees this year was the line items for Aqua, we built the fee right into the annual operating budget. So you'll note under water contracted services, what was previously about 900,000 got jumped to 1.2 million. That number was to build this in. So that number carries a number of 800,000. That 800,000 is for operations and maintenance. And then that 400,000 would be for the meter program. So that number was built into the operating budget that we have with Aqua, and it would just be dealt with under our existing Aqua contract. You'll note that in the proposal, Aqua provided us approximately 150,000 of that 400 is allocated to staffing, management, and operational costs. And then the other 250,000 is for materials, and that's just on an as required basis. So how we ended up treating these is if we have to go into a house and we have to replace the meter and nothing else, that would obviously be cheaper than if we had to go into a house and replace the meter and the PRV and valves and other things. So we're going to be treating that 250 as we'll do a meter after a meter, and however much we spend on each one, we'll just use that 250 as an upset limit that we'll just work under that $250,000 amount. That 400,000 is 50,000 cheaper than what we paid last year. So there's significant financial savings there that it's 50,000 less than we paid last year for the exact same service. So the recommendations before council this evening, and then I'll open it up to questions for Sam or myself, are that council receive report DIO 16 of 2026 regarding the 2026 water meter replacement program, Aqua change of scope award for information, and that council authorize staff to extend the existing operations and maintenance agreement with the Ontario Clean Water Agency to include the 2026 water meter replacement program through Schedule G, change order form at an annual upset limit of $400,000. And that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute all necessary agreements and related documentation to give effect to this execution. And again, extension. And again, Sam and I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Is there anything you'd like to add at this time before we turn it to the floor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't think so. I think Sam captured it pretty well. Like it's an extension of our service. We're happy to be able to offer this service. So yeah, he covered it very well.
Okay. I know we've asked for that service if it was possible in the past, and I'm glad to see it come forward. I do have one question before I turn it to council. These are the same meters though we've been putting in, correct? It's just Aqua's doing it now.
That is correct, yes. The
Okay.
meters are the same and they will be purchased through Aqua through this program.
Okay, thank you. Questions for council? Councilor Knellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Some time ago, we were doing meter pits out at the road. Have we shied away from that?
Through your worship to the councillor, so meter pits are still a thing only, and it's set up by distance. So our standards read that if your house is a certain distance away, you still require a meter pit, but that's not something that we provide anymore. We only provide the meter, and whoever requires the pit will be responsible for providing their own pit. But I'm speaking off the top of my head here, so I might get the number wrong, but I believe it's somewhere over 50 meters and beyond, you need a meter pit. So yes, we still have meter pit programs. It's just not
Okay.
something that we do.
So, but otherwise the meters, so then the meter would be located roadside, otherwise to be in the house. Is that correct?
That's
Or-
correct, yes. If it exceeds that distance, then they require a meter pit and it goes at the road. And if it's under it, then it goes in the house.
Okay. And I guess the question I may have for you is that there are some very large livestock operations. Would the 2-inch meter accommodate a high demand for water for those operations?
Yeah, that's a good question, through the mayor. That is, it's something that every property is treated different, and usually the homeowner needs to provide the sizing that they would want. Aqua or the municipality doesn't want to get into recommending sizes because if they're wrong, then they can come back. But typically, that is something that the property owner, the farmer is going to tell you what they want through some sort of engineering or whatever. But as far as this program goes, you know, we've essentially responded to the RFP, and it includes all the meters that were included in the original RFP that was put out from last year. So
If I heard you correctly, then there are meters that are larger than 2 inches. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Your Worship, I was just correcting myself. The distance is 33 meters. So anything above 33, they would require a pit, and anything below that, they would go inside the house.
Okay. All right. Counselor Daigle.
Just a question on the meter pits, the reader, is it located in the pit or is it located on the house?
Through Your Worship to the counselor. So if the meter's inside the house, then the reader is at the house. And if it's in the pit, then the reader is usually at the pit. And the program captures all that as well, if the radio read equipment.
Other questions? Seeing no other questions, I would say I really like this because, for lack of a better term, we know there's only one throat to choke, right? And I've, you know what I'm getting at. We do know who to go see if there's any issues. It is definitely, and we've had a great relationship with Aqua. That's not what I'm getting at, but it does help to streamline it. So that's a better way to say it, streamlining it instead of throat to choke. So, but if there's no other questions, we have a recommendation in front of us. Deputy Mayor Hodgins, Councillor Keel, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Okay, our next, Sam, yours is the next one again, the Mount Carmel Reservoir reconstruction.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and to you and all the members of council. Before you this evening is now report DIO 23 of 2026, which provides the transfer payment agreement for the Mount Carmel Reservoir reconstruction project. This report seeks council's authorization to enter into the transfer payment agreement with the province of Ontario, and this is in order to receive the provincial funding for the reconstruction of the Mount Carmel Reservoir. You'll note in my report that, again, the municipality was obviously successful in receiving this funding through the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Health and Safety Water Stream. And this is obviously to reconstruct the Mount Carmel Reservoir. And in order to do so, we must execute the agreement and then authorize it by bylaw and provide it back to the province in order to move this program forward. The project scope includes construction of a new bypass chamber, installation of full SCADA, electrical system upgrades, expansion of the existing reservoir storage capacity, and reconstruction of the reservoir in its entirety. And again, I noted this previously, and Rod noted as well, the project was actually out for tender and it just closed last Friday. So at the next council meeting, I'll be bringing that information forward for council. But the good news is that the project finished and came in well under budget, which is fantastic. So we're excited to see this one move forward as well. You'll note in my financial summary that the agreement we have with the province, we are eligible for $5.5 million, of which 73% of is eligible, up to a maximum of $4,024,125. And any remaining costs are to be funded by the municipality through other approved funding sources. And the province will obviously fund the project on a milestone basis, which again, you'll find those details in the transfer payment agreement that is attached. The project start deadline is June 30th of this year with a completion date of March 2029. And again, I won't speak too far ahead, but as I mentioned in the budget work that we did this year, our plan is to fully reconstruct the project start to finish this year. So we plan to start hopefully in May-ish, weather depending, and we plan to be done by around September, October. So we will be well within the deadlines that we have as part of the transfer payment agreement. So again, I'll bring all the tender details forward at the next council meeting, but the recommendations before council this evening are that council receive report DIO 23 of 2026 regarding the Mount Carmel Reservoir reconstruction transfer payment agreement for information, and that council authorized by bylaw the execution of a transfer payment agreement between the municipality of North Middlesex and His Majesty the King in the right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any ancillary documents required to give effect to the funding as presented by bylaw. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on this one. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Questions from council? No questions? Sam, what is the capacity at that reservoir now? And what will it be when we're done?
But to your worship, the current capacity, the simple answer is we're doubling it. So the number is, it's roughly about 500 right now, cubic meters, and we're doubling it to roughly around 1,000. So we're going to be doubling the capacity that we have there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor Nerda, seconded by Councillor Irwin. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Our next one is Ralph, and that is on the 2026 property tax rates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council. Before you are the tax rates that came out of the mayor's adopted budget that was passed on February 18th. Actually, that's not the right term, is it, Ashley? It was adopted on February 18th. From that, we were able to then calculate out what the municipal portion of the tax rates were. We've received the information from the county as to what their tax rates will be. The province has gone again with a 0 increase on the education rates. And so before you is the bylaw, including the table showing what the actual rates will be that will be charged and the amounts that will be collected. And in my report, I've given you a few quick summary numbers of what the increases look like, both dollar-wise and percentage, and what you can expect per $100,000 of assessment of a residential property to expect your change in charges to be based on that. If you want to figure it out for a different value of a property, just divide your property by 100,000 and use whatever you come up with and multiply it by the numbers I've given you. Any questions?
Questions from council? Councillor Canellis.
I just want to thank you for including the breakdown of where the tax dollars are going, because most often the ratepayers are not aware that we only retain about 50% of the tax dollars that we collect. So I think this is very significant and helpful for them to understand. Thank you.
And through the mayor to the councillor, that brings to a salient point to mind. We remit back to the county and to the province what is billed on those tax rates. We do not wait until we actually have collected those amounts. So if any amount of taxes goes uncollected, it's our dime. We lose it, whether or not it's the provincial portion or the county portion, because we have to remit those based on what was billed.
Okay, other questions? Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Ralph, is that the impact assessed value that you're basing on your calculation?
Each December around the 10th, we receive the new updated rule from MPAC as to what the assessment for the following year is going to officially be. That rule is available at the counter if you want to look at it. That rule increased by 0.79% in terms of the assessment value. We moved from approximately 2,241,000 and change in assessment to 2,258,000,000 and change in assessment. So that's the 0.76% increase. So as much as we have a lot of permits going out, a lot of development work going on, we've only seen approximately 17 million as the amount of assessment actually garnished by that. And part of that is how quickly does MPACT actually get those new properties assessed and in the rolls, and whether or not those developments actually sell and get brought through. Because the thing that will happen, and I know this from having built my own home, your original assessment is based only on the land. And it isn't until there's actually occupancy that MPACT comes by and does a full assessment as to what the building is, how many toilets and all of that, that they use to come up with, this is the property assessment. And that can be almost a year to 2 years after people move in. So there is a time lag between the time that we have all this growth and the time that we finally actually start to see it show up in the assessment.
Okay, any other questions? We have a recommendation in front of you. What's your wish? Deputy Mayor Hodgins, seconded by Councilor Keough, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Ralph. Carolyn, you have the next. Oh, sorry, two opposed? Okay, it is carried. Well. Okay, Carolyn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you tonight is a report with regard to our half-two funding. The report is coming forward to you due to our great progress that we have made with regards to our half-two funding. Abby is online and is joining us tonight to assist with this, as it is something she brought to my attention. Since our municipality actually exceeded our housing targets under our half-two funding, we qualified for an additional funding allotment, which also came with another initiative under the CMHC funding protocol for the half-two funding. So Abby brought to my attention this initiative, and along with it will coming an undetermined amount of additional capital monies with it that we'll be able to benefit from. At this point in time, we don't know how much that capital money will be. It's an unknown at this point. However, with the initiative, we know at this point that we are successful because Abby has already been able to submit this initiative for their approval prior to coming tonight. So it's a little awkward. It has already been approved by half, but we're bringing this to you tonight for council's consideration because at the time we were not sure if it would be successful and how we would have to fund that. So explaining this has been a little confusing. My apologies, but maybe we could start off with Abby, if you could outline the initiative that we know now that half-two has approved.
Yeah, so just to clarify,
Just a
we
minute.
don't know like if we're gonna get funding, but we were.
Sorry, just 1 second, Abby. You were very, very loud, and that wasn't your fault. It was our system. I think they could hear you all the way down at Foodland.
I definitely could hear that.
Try it again.
Okay, test.
That's much better.
Okay, I didn't break anybody's eardrums. That's good. I didn't know why everybody started moving or what just happened there. It's always interesting when you attend council virtually. So yeah, just to clarify, so we don't know how much funding the municipality is going to get, or even if they will actually like approve a funding account. But what was approved was us being able to actually apply for the monies. So North Middlesex is the only local municipality in the county that had the ability to apply for additional money through the half-two program. And essentially what we moved forward with in the hopes of getting more capital funds was the standardized catalog of pre-reviewed housing designs, because we did have a list that we were required to choose from. And some other municipalities that are of similar size to North Middlesex and just similar to Middlesex County generally have successfully implemented programs that are similar to this. So essentially, if this is approved, the program would be delivered countywide through a qualified consultant with support from both myself as well as the local chief building officials. So that would be Arnie for Middlesex Center and the 6 municipalities that he covers, the chief building official from Thames Center, and then the chief building official from Strathroy Caradoc. And the ultimate goal is to create a ready-to-build housing template that meets zoning as well as Ontario Building Code requirements to essentially help landowners reduce design costs shorten the times associated with actual like building permits, and make it a little bit easier for I want to say like just homeowners to add additional units to their properties. So as noted in the report, the municipality of Saugeen Shores just implemented a program similar to this, and they actually received some pretty prestigious awards for their program. So these are gaining popularity largely due to the release of CMHC's housing catalog. Our catalog is likely to just include the detached additional residential units, and that's because of discussions that I've had with the chief building officials. Because that's, you know, the kind of units that sometimes we see the most pushback against, but also the type of units that like we're required to permit as of right under the Ontario Planning Act. So essentially, this project would include visual renderings of ARU designs, and we would release them for both public and like councils could also participate in the consultation to select designs that, you know, fit the Middlesex County context and maintain existing neighborhood character. And really, the program is just a practical tool to increase housing supply and streamline approvals. As noted in the report, it comes in at an estimated cost of $95,000, which we have applied through the HAF2 program for. However, if that funding allotment isn't approved, the county would just pay for the initiative if we're unsuccessful with the funding application. And I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Questions for Abby on this report? Councillor Canellison?
Thank you. Abby, if I understand this presentation correctly, is that to say that we're going to build a template and we'll have like 2 or 3 different style of housing that we can choose from to have constructed in our municipality? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, thanks for your question through the mayor. So essentially, we would be looking at having a designer produce various designs of additional residential units, and then we would release them for consultation. And yes, like we would have members of the communities or councils vote on those designs. So there would be a little bit more community buy-in, hopefully council buy-in on the designs of the detached ARUs. That's one of the goals here.
And would that then include the renovations to have an ARU inside the existing dwelling?
Due to the nature of this program, that would be very challenging to do just because every single detached dwelling is different. So the goal here would be to have maybe 3 or 4 detached additional residential unit designs.
Okay. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No other questions? We have recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor Irwin, seconded by Councillor Canellison. Yes? Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Committee reports are the next on the docket. Lake Huron-
Abby.
Thanks, Abby. Lake Huron Primary Water Supply
Meeting tomorrow afternoon.
tomorrow. ABCA?
Yes,
Councillor Canellison.
ABCA, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago and we had to elect the chair and vice chair. The Ray Chartrand will remain as chair, given that all the challenges that the Conservation Authority is dealing with. We felt it's best to remain as consistent as possible. I was also nominated for a vice chair, but I respectfully declined, given that I will not be able to complete the term. Jaden Hodgins was also nominated. He also declined, given he will not be able to complete the term. So Dave Marsh, a councillor from Lambton Shores, is vice chair. Prior to our meeting, Carolyn and I had a meeting with Davin and Nathan to discuss the trail application here. And Carolyn, if you wouldn't mind talking about it, since you took the lead in that meeting, perhaps you can update council on that.
Through your worship, yes, I'm happy to provide that update. Council will be, would remember at the last meeting where we had some discussions during budget with regards to what I call the Park Hill Trail across the street from us, leading to the conservation area. The desire was to see that trail move forward, but obviously with the limitations of cost, it wasn't included in budget. So I did have that conversation with Councillor Corneliuson about how we can move that forward without the impact on the municipal budget. We met and we had a few different ideas, but what Plan A is to apply for Trillium funding for the cost of the upgrades to the trail to bring it to completion. The thought was as a joint application. I've since determined that Trillium doesn't allow it as a joint, but we are still working together on doing so. And the Trillium grant would pay for the entire cost of the upgrades if we are successful. The due date for that was actually today. So I've already submitted that application and did receive some assistance from ABCA in doing so. And now our fingers are crossed that we will be successful. If that is not successful, we do have a plan B, which I'll come back to council at a later date, hopefully not necessary, to look at that. But at this point, if we are successful, the plan is to start the preliminary work on that this summer with the actual construction happening this fall.
Okay, any questions for them on this? See no questions, I guess we'll just wait and see what the results are, what they'll do for us.
Yes, I'm not certain of the turnaround time for the Trillium grants, but my understanding is they're quicker than some others, so I'm hope to hear soon.
They have been, at least in the past, you got an answer quicker. Councillor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And is this work going to be done in-house or are we going to put it out for tender?
It's a combination. Work will not be done by our staff, but some of the work will be done by the ABCA staff as well as some outside contractors.
Okay. Councillor Daigle?
Just one other question. Is the trail starting right here at Main Street? Because the Sauble Bayfield won't be involved in any of that, right, going until you get to their property, right?
If I may, through your worship, it's like I mentioned, it's a joint project. So they would be working with us on it, even on the portion that's municipally owned. They have done similar work on trails elsewhere. So they're looking to work on the trail that would connect this trailhead right to the conservation lands that are owned by them. So yes, it is a joint project and they would be doing work on our property.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. Blue Water Recycling?
The annual general meeting, April 23rd.
I see they've got the red lids on the commercial bins now. Is that all done?
Just from what I've noticed.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know.
Within the last month or so.
Right, at first I asked why the red bins, what's with the red ones, but because I know we didn't pass the green bin project, so Economic Development Committee.
I think we've heard tonight that the next meeting will be April 9th here in Park Hill. And we also heard that the chief building official will be attending. I suspect some other staff will probably be attending as well to address issues raised at the previous meeting. So it'll be an interesting meeting, your worship.
Look forward to it. Okay, local school advisory.
At the last council meeting, did discuss having a meeting in March and a community meeting around future schools in April. I think all of council received a copy of a letter, did we not, in terms of representative parents from the high school with a lot of concerns around enrollment this year. I'm hoping that we can get that March meeting set up with a doodle pull out the next couple of days and find a time for that. There's a lot going on there. The board may not, or council may or may not be aware that the acting director of education has chose not to continue in this role. And they will be appointing a new director of education. How that's going to occur without a school board appointment remains to be seen. It should be an interesting exercise. A lot of interesting things happening. Yes, that should be an interesting exercise as well. I'm a little concerned around that appointment, to be honest, your worship.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, Recreation Committee?
Next meeting is May 26th.
Okay. Policy Review Committee?
Next meeting is May 6th.
No, we have a meeting before the March next meeting, correct? Oh, you weren't coming to that one. Okay. But there is a policy committee meeting before our next council meeting in 2 weeks. Okay. Fire committee.
I think I'll ask Chief Jones to speak to that because I think we got something planned for Elsa Craig, do we not?
Okay.
Through the mayor to the councillor and the rest of the council, May 11th in Elsa Craig to display the new renovation, showers, locker room, etc. So it should be good. And then we'll just meet there after. It's fairly informal meeting, so we'll just meet in the hall.
So all of council, if they want to come, can come and see, look at the upgrades, just can't stay
Yeah.
for the meeting. Otherwise we got a quorum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Community Development Fund. Nothing there. Middlesex OPP detachment. Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, your worship. As stated at the last meeting, I've included here the minutes from the January meeting, as well as presentation regarding the budget process. I wouldn't mind going through some aspects of that if council would like. But in terms of the minutes from the last meeting, the future meetings will be March 18th, June 24th, and September 23rd. They're listed in the minutes, and the chair was renewed with Deputy Mayor John Brennan from Middlesex Center, and the vice chair will be Deputy Mayor Michelle Smybert from Thames Center.
Okay.
But now if I can quickly go through this, I just have a few slides to show here. This is slide 6. This shows the provincial breakdown in terms of how the OPP charges municipalities for their services. Municipalities pay, as of 2024, 497 million, and the OPP or provincial responsibility is 1.056 billion. So this is their total budget and how it's split between municipal and provincial cost recovery. If we can go to the next slide, and stop me at any time, please. 497, yes. Oh, thank you. 497 million covers the following services. And we can see them there in cost. This is what we pay for. The next slide is provincial responsibilities and what they pay for out of that. All right. I'm not sure if council's aware of this, maybe you are, but the next slide shows how we break this out. There's a base service cost that we all pay for. This is based on, and a service cost is based on number of occupied properties in your community. So this is really interesting. If it's farmland and there's no occupancy on it, it's not charged as a property. If it's a house and we're talking about additional residential units earlier this evening, if you add 1 or 2 additional residential units, that doesn't increase our cost. They charge by property. So if you were to add a residential unit on an existing property, for example, that wouldn't increase the calculations. Calls for service, we're familiar with that. That's a 4-year rolling average. So it's calls for service in the previous 4 years as a rolling average, and the cost is based on that. So we had, for example, I think council has discussed this in the past, considerable calls for service from the former boys' home, which is no longer operational. Eventually those calls for services will be out of our calculations.
But it's on a 12-year sliding scale.
No, it's a 4-year. 4-year.
4-year sliding scale.
4-year scale. 4-year rate. Rolling average.
Okay.
Okay. And then other costs, which are things like clerical staff. We're paying a percentage of, for example, janitorial services for the police department and so forth, which is interesting. Anyways, the next slide. Is that 9? So yeah, so this is just broken out, and please look at that at your leisure. It shows which of the areas that we're paying for staff, which ones are covered by the provincial portion. We're paying for part of the staff, et cetera, et cetera. We're paying for the whole staff complement, whether it's fully staffed or not. So if you remember, I came back from the November meeting and reported that at that time, we're only at a 64% complement in staff because of maternity leaves, sick time, et cetera, of what we're paying for the full complement at that time. Happy to note, well, I don't know, but the Middlesex detachment is getting 4 new cadets. So they're hoping to bring their numbers back up in terms of complements. Okay. And then I think the next slide does further breakdown, just to give you more details in terms of how it's broken down. We also have experienced I think this is 13, not 12, even just to 13. Yeah. Okay. This is the reconciliation of cost variances. You may remember that the OPP just settled a 3-year collective agreement last year. And you can see cost increases by constables went from 2023, $3,700 increase on average, 2024, 7,400, and 2025, 10,500 increase in salary. The province and the OPP are currently in collective agreements for the next agreement. They have, from the meeting, it was discussed that these collective agreements might last a whole year before they're finalized. So we might see additional costs in 2027 in terms of policing. The other thing we should note is last year, because of the significant increase in costs, the province had a 1-year 10% decrease in their allocation to municipalities, the requested municipalities. They carried that forward again this year. So even though it was a 1-year agreement, it was carried forward this year. So our the amount being requested from us is 10% lower because of that 10% temporary relief that they've given us. How much are we actually paying? Well, there is a hyperlink here, and it's an Excel file, but we're going to pull up ours, which lists every municipality in Ontario and what they're paying for policing. So here we are here, and you can touch the hyperlink yourselves if you want to see what other communities are paying for policing. But you can see here in North Middlesex, our costs this year are $993,015, which is slightly more than last year. You can see the numbers of properties we had went up slightly from this year to last year, which in part calculates the increase. They're charging, and I went through this quickly, about $189 per property for the core cost, the base cost. And that's their calculation. I asked, do they review that calculation on a regular basis? They said they do it periodically. I asked who reviewed it, and they said they do it internally. So there's no third-party review, and it's the OPP's own review of how they charge their services out to municipal partners. Okay. What is interesting to note is we did get that 10% relief this year, but their budget request went up 11. So without that 10% increase, we would have saw a significant increase in our cost of policing this year. So when they decide, the province, not to give us or continue that 10% relief, we're going to see a significant increase in our policing costs, whenever that might be. It might be 2027, it might be 2028. I'm not sure how they're calculating that at the provincial level. That's up to the Premier and his cabinet. Any questions on this? Also, the clerk has informed me that she is working with the inspector, and we're thinking sometime in April that the inspector and the chair will be at council to do a presentation.
Okay, I know they are going around.
They are going around
municipalities.
Any questions on this?
No, and there might be some when Councillor Canellis, there might be more when we see them, but go ahead.
I do have a question, but not on the financials. I have a question on what initiative, if any, is the OPP taking to improve school bus safety with drivers passing stop school buses?
Okay, so this was actually discussed at the previous meeting, and they are putting forward a renewed enforcement program for school bus safety. I think after our last meeting, we talked about adding or asking them if they could look at the Nair situation specifically. And I think that that has occurred. We did communicate with them, looking at the clerk. She's nodding her head on that. So we're waiting to see back on that, but they've taken a zero tolerance policy, and they're adding more enforcement around school zones.
And they have just, if I'll just add to that, they have just announced that they're doing a real press on it right now, on school bus safety. They're putting enforcement on that.
I did see that on the newscast, but I want, if I could ask the counselor, have there been any charges laid for drivers that have gone past stopped school buses?
Good question. I can bring that to the next meeting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And it won't completely get helped until buses have the cameras, right? All buses have a camera. If the lights are on, it should be automatic. The police shouldn't have to be there. That's my own feeling, but your question was answered? Okay. Is there any other questions on that? If not, okay, thank you, Counselor. We'll go on to correspondence. And the first one is the North Middlesex Baseball sponsorship opportunities. They're just pointing out that there is opportunities for sponsorship if any counselors feel that they'd like to help sponsor minor baseball. Ontario Public Works Association Executive Committee and Board of Directors. Nothing on that. Receive and file. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's just receive and file. All right, we need a motion to accept. Receive and file. Councilor Daigle, Councilor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Thanks. Other urgent business. Councilor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Just as a general inquiry here, I've received a couple of phone calls in the last few days here, and I think some other councillors may have as well, regarding the county's tree or bush bylaw. And some of our neighbors or some of our constituents are a little confused as to whether or not they need to obtain a permit to harvest firewood for their homes and the bush lots. And I was wondering if it would be possible, Mr. Mayor, if you could look into and perhaps invite the bylaw officer for bush lots to come to council to speak to it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that'd be the best way to do it, is to ask Dirk and Mark Brown to come, if two of them or one of them, whoever, to come and help explain that. I will say that I do remember signing that bylaw last year for the county, because the county didn't have any they didn't have any teeth for for what they were doing. And they wanted to crack down on some of these. And it's not designed for somebody who wants to cut wood for themselves. It's designed for commercial use and different reasons. But I think if we ask them to come to a meeting, we'll invite Dirk and Mark or whoever wants to come for delegation to explain that better.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilor Daigle and then Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. The county has already acted though on people who are harvesting for firewood. And
so I'm not going to speak to any specific cases, because if there's a file open on something, that's I think there's just some clarification made that I'm not going to speak to openly on, because there are individuals. I'm not going to speak to any specific ones. Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Further to Councilor Canellison's point, could we possibly have that put on our municipal website, that we are going to have that spokesperson from Middlesex County? Then perhaps maybe people that are more concerned about it may be able to witness it.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Clarification and education is a great thing.
And the bylaw, like, to put on our website, is a pretty extensive. It's pretty extensive. It's not just a couple of pages, like, so.
But even, it's not a question and answer period. It's just more for information.
For information.
That's right.
I think that's a great idea. Councilor Daigle.
we not also use the webpage to say notice to residents who burn firewood or collect firewood out of their own bush? Refer to this bylaw before you do anything.
Okay, that's information,
Yes.
communication, right? Right. I think I was clean with all the. Any other business? Councilor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to bring forward a matter we discussed at our last council meeting. We talked about sewage blockage in front of 82 Queen Street in Elsa Craig. And at that time, I think we were all under the impression there was no damage done to the homeowner's house. However, Learned subsequently that there was a sewer toilet backup because of that incident. The homeowner did call a plumbing company. Plumber came out, reviewed the matter, scoped the sewer, and let the homeowner know that it was municipal blockage, but he did charge the homeowner for his time and cost. Now, my understanding through staff is this is not a matter that we normally reimburse the homeowner for, even though it's our blockage. I want to get some clarification on that, how the council feels about it. The total cost I shared, and I have the invoice in front of me if people are interested in that. It wasn't significant in terms of four figures, but there was a cost attached to that. So happy to have that discussion.
All right, who wants to start? Sam, do you want to start?
Yeah, your worship, I can, sure. So generally speaking, for any sewer blockage issues or water main breaks or leaks or anything of that nature, obviously, anytime situations like this come up, the homeowner is directed to go through their insurance. That's why they have insurance, and that's why we have insurance. It's usually up to the insurance to figure out exactly what happened, who is or is not at fault, what is or is not paid, et cetera, et cetera. I would just suggest that entertaining anything like that is a very slippery slope. What's to say we pay a $400 bill and then a month later they think their carpet smells and now they want their basement rebuilt and so on and so forth. So that's why we direct all this through insurance. That's what they're there for. That's what we pay it for. And I don't say any of this to say that, you know, what the homeowner is saying is not true or not, but it's just that's the way the process works and that's what we use insurance for. So.
Just to follow up, certainly in conversations had with Darcy, who is our representative for insurance, he also reiterates exactly what Sam has said, that's the way it should be handled. And there's lots of reasons for that. It's not to suggest that, as Sam has said, that this homeowner isn't being completely honest, but there's lots of reasons why it's handled through the insurance to protect the municipality, whether it's for a $400 charge or a $5,000 charge. It is the way it's traditionally handled and recommended to be handled by the insurance company.
I agree with what the position that staff have taken, and I think it's pretty difficult to place responsibility for the blockage. We don't know where it came from, and I think it'll open up a can of worms if we take on the role of compensating people for that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did say to the homeowner I would bring it forward, and I have. It's good for the community to know how the municipality handles these types of issues, irrespective of whose responsibility it is.
Okay. So you're not making any motions on this? You're just.
I'm not going to bother making a motion to see it defeated tonight, because it will be. So I'll just move on.
Okay. Thank you. Any other business? Councillor Daigle.
I was wondering if we could get a report on our water loss. We've done so much work on the water meters, correcting water meters, correcting our billing. I'd like to know where we stand now with all those things in place.
Sam?
It is something that staff is working on, something we plan to bring forward, yes.
Any idea timeframe?
I'd like to say in the next couple of months at the worst.
Okay, so you're thinking by May
Well, I'll just add that the report's not going to be done entirely by me. I'll have to involve our finance folks, and a lot of them are
Okay.
tied up in water bills. So certainly when the next billing cycle goes through, we can start working on it together and I can get their involvement for sure.
Okay, Councillor? Okay. Are there any other business? Seeing none? Deferred items, we do have them coming on, Damon's coming on the 18th. Communication, from county council, you have the paramedic service and then, decision, go ahead.
Yes, I do have a question for you, and then if my memory serves me correctly, you are on the ambulance board, I believe?
Correct.
So my question for you is, has anything been done, has anything improved in terms of wait times at hospitals for these ambulances? Because I know it was an issue for county staff. I'm just wondering if there's been any improvement.
I think the official term is cautiously optimistic. You know, it's better, but you know, there's also been cutbacks that we're not in control of. but it has been a little better.
Well, that's
And they're
good.
doing a lot to try to defer from the emergency room when not needed. That's how MLPS is really working on it to try to bypass the emergency when possible. Any other questions on that? Seeing none, the last one is the budget adoption for information. Reading of the bylaws.
Thank you, and through you. So tonight we're looking for first and second readings of bylaws 28 to 30 of 2026.
No. Questions
Question.
before we start?
Yep.
I'd like bylaw 29 taken out of that list because some of us may oppose it.
Okay.
Okay, motion amended to read bylaws 28 and 30 of 2026, first and second time.
Yes, Councillor Nagel, Councillor Nerda, all in favor? Carried.
Okay, bylaw 29 of 2029. Actually, may I please do third and finals for that set?
For the first two?
Yeah.
Okay, third and final on the first two. Councillor Nerda, Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? Carried. Now on bylaw.
I request a recorded vote on the next one.
Absolutely. Okay, first and second for bylaw 29 of 2026.
So we have to have first a mover and a seconder, like
Yeah.
normal. Move bylaw 29, Councillor Nelson, seconder, Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? Oh, no, we got it. You want a recorded vote?
Okay.
Councillor have you got it ready?
Yep.
Okay, Councillor Daigle. Okay, Councillor Keel. In favor? Favor. Okay. All right, and third and final, correct? Third and final. Moved by Councillor Canellison, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Still
Do we have to
opposed.
do it recorded on this as well?
Let's
Okay.
just do recorded.
Still opposed? In favor? Opposed? In favor? Same. Okay,
So bylaw carries.
okay, that is carried. Last thing, adjournment. Oh, sorry, all in favor?
Sorry, before we proceed, I still have bylaws 2 and 3.
Oh, jeez, you're killing me now.
Sorry.
That's killing me. Okay, go
so
ahead.
That you've adjourned. We have to call back to session.
I didn't call for it yet. You didn't call.
Okay,
No, go ahead.
2 and 3 of 2026 and 28 and 30 of 2026, third and final.
Councillor Daigle, second by Councillor Nerda, in favor? And third and final? Same two, in favor? Approved. Okay,
Thank you very much.
okay.
Well,
Move to adjourn. I'm not doing it. Councillor Keel and then Councillor Nerda. All in favor?